Supply of the heart now today will be venous drainage. So venous drainage means whole of the impure blood from the heart, how it goes out. So that is called the venous drainage. And for the veins we use the word tributaries. For arteries we use the word branches. So never use the word branches for the venous drainage. So they are called the small or large tributaries which go directly or indirectly to collect whole of the venous flow. So same basic diagram again. When the question of the venous drainage comes, you have to make two diagrams. For arterial supply, you have to make two diagrams. For pericardium, again two diagrams. External features, again these two diagrams. So they are the basics. I have already told you. So in the venous drainage, the venous drainage of the heart is through a very irregular pool of the venous blood in a channel that is called the coronary sinus. So sinus is a irregular, it's not a coronary vein, we use the word coronary sinus. So it is a venous channel, no doubt, but it is irregular in shape. That's why we use the word the sinus. And first is the dimension, the length, 4 centimeter to 6 centimeter. So it is about 4 to 6 centimeter long venous channel lying in the posterior atrioventricular sulcus or coronary sulcus. Posterior atrioventricular sulcus. So here we find this is the posterior atrioventricular because this is the right atrium, this is the left atrium, and the crest point you have to make like this, and this is the right ventricle, and this is the left ventricle. And here opens the four veins, two from the hilum of the right lung and two from the left lung. In the pulmonary ligament, from where the blood is coming into the lung. So this venous channel is 4 to 6 centimeter long. It lies in the posterior atrioventricular. So this is the coronary sinus. In the dissection part, you will see here. So this is the coronary sinus. And it opens into the right atrium because whole of the impure blood from the whole of the body is coming into the right atrium. So impure blood from the heart is also pooling in the same right atrium. And at the opening of this coronary sinus in the right atrium, there is a vestigial valve is also present, which is no longer functional, but still it is present. This is called the Sebaceous valve. Sebaceous valve. Like inferior vena cava is also having a rudimentary valve, non-functional valve. It is called the Eustachian valve. So Sebaceous valve is present in the coronary sinus. So both are vestigial. Then comes the tributaries, that from where the blood is pooled in this 4 to 6 centimeter long coronary sinus. The main tributary is the great cardiac vein. Then there is a short cardiac vein. Then there is a middle cardiac vein. Sometimes there is an anterior vein. Then oblique vein of left atrium, or also called Marshall's vein. And there are vena cordis minimarum. Vena cordis minimarum. So they are the various tributaries or small or large veins which are opening into this or bringing the impure blood from here and there into the coronary sinus. So after giving all the names of these tributaries, now comes the course. Where these veins they start and where they open, because the opening of these veins is different in the coronary sinus. So first we take the great cardiac vein. As the name suggests, it is the longest and it covers the larger area or larger chambers of the heart. So from larger areas or the walls of the heart, it brings the impure blood. So this great cardiac vein actually it starts from the near the apex and it runs in the atrioventricular interventricular sulcus anterior, and it starts a little bit from the diaphragmatic surface of the heart. And then this vein, when reaching at the root of the pulmonary trunk, so it diverts towards the left side, left border of the heart, collecting the blood from the left ventricle, upper two-thirds of the interventricular septum, and from the right ventricle as well. The larger area of the drainage of the great cardiac vein is there. Then this vein skirts around the left border. Now we see this point here. Now this reaches the posterior atrioventricular sulcus, and then this great cardiac vein is continued as the coronary sinus, or it opens into the coronary. Actually, it is of large caliber, large diameter, largest tributary of the coronary sinus. So its diameter is almost equal to the diameter of the coronary sinus. Or in other words, we can say that the great cardiac vein is the continuation of the coronary sinus, because it is in line with it. So that is what we say about the great cardiac vein. A larger area of the drainage is there. Second is the small cardiac or the short cardiac vein. As the name suggests, so it is smaller in caliber and it starts in the anterior or right atrioventricular sulcus and collects the impure blood from the right atrium, a little bit from the right ventricle, and it reaches the skirts around the anterior or inferior border of the heart. The short cardiac vein now we see here. Now it reaches the diaphragmatic surface, and from here it opens into the coronary side. So if you measure it, it is comparatively smaller. That's why it's called the short or the small cardiac vein. So it covers or it drains the lesser area of it. Then third is the middle cardiac vein. So as the name suggests, so the middle cardiac vein, it drains the diaphragmatic surface. So the shaded area is the diaphragmatic surface or the inferior surface of the heart, which is resting on the diaphragm. So this middle cardiac vein, it starts from the a little bit away from the apex, runs in the posterior interventricular septus, collecting mainly the tributaries or the veins or the venous blood from the inferior surface of the right ventricle. Each and everything you have to write down whenever there is a question comes about the tributaries. Just name of the tributary won't give you the marks. You have to go into the detail, you have to write down 3 and 4 lines about every tributary, then you get more than 50% mark. Otherwise you will get less than 50%. Then it runs straightway upward and reaches the crux, and here it opens into the coronary sinus. So it lies in the middle of it, so it is called the middle cardiac vein. Then comes the oblique vein of Marshall. As the name suggests, it runs obliquely and it opens into the coronary sinus. So it is a remnant of the embryological venous drainage. When you do the embryology, next we will starting the embryology of the thorax and the heart after finishing with the thorax. So then we will do in the detail of this vein. So it is related to the embryological development. And where this oblique vein ends, we take the measurement of the coronary sinus from that point. You can't say coronary sinus start from here. Not here, not here, not here. Where it starts? Where the oblique vein of the left atrium opens into the coronary sinus, we measure the coronary sinus length from that part up to its termination, where it disappears in the right atrium. So that is how we measure the length from 4 to 6 centimeters. It is a variable. So whenever there is a come length, never write a single word. Always write a variation. Why have said what is the length? 4 to 6. It may be in between or it may be away. So that is how you have to give the dimensions of everything. Then the last but not the least, they are the vena cordis minimarum. So vena means veins, multiple veins, small, and cordis means the heart, and minimarum means small. So these are the small veins. They directly open into the coronary sinus. For example, this area is without any tributary. This is not drained. So small veins, they directly open into the coronary sinus. They are unnamed veins because they do not fall under the previous 5 type of the veins. So they directly opens into, and multiple veins are there, so they are called the vena cordis minimarum into the, or vice versa. Sometimes they open into the right atrium directly also. Small veins, they directly open into the right atrium where whole of the venous blood is pooled. So that is how we do the venous drainage of the or the coronary sinus. So these veins, they run almost with the coronary arteries in the subepicardial space, same space where it runs. So because of the close proximity, these veins, they often communicate with the arteries. So there is a AV anastomosis. arteriovenous. There is no artery to artery anastomosis. They are end arteries, but they may communicate with the veins. So that is called the atrioventricular, the venous, arteriovenous communications or anastomosis there. So because of these blood vessels, because they are lying very, very near to it, so there is a chances that they are maybe. And if you find on the surface in the dissection of the heart, you will find that the veins, they lie superficial to the arteries. So arteries, they lie deep, and superficially the veins are lying over there. Because veins, they are thin walled. Their tunica media is thinner than the arteries. So they are superficial in position. Arteries, they have got the thick tunica media and they are pulsatile. So they remain in the depth. And even then they can work. And these vessels, they are also surrounded by the fat. This is called the subepicardial fat. So these vessels, they are scattered in the subepicardial fat. So the people who are taking the high fatty diet, so the triglyceride or fat is not present only in their blood circulating in their body, but it is also deposited in the subepicardial space around the blood vessels, and this fat will also press these vessels. So they do the external pressure on the coronary vessels, and because of this, the less blood will be going to the myocardium. And myocardium is prone to these people any infarction. What is infarction? Stoppage of the oxygenated blood to any human tissue. We use the word ischemia or infarction. The two words, I for eye, infarction or ischemia means total or partial blockade of the oxygen supply to the tissue via arterial blood. That's why it's called the myocardial infarction. So because of these communications, we are popularly, we use the word collaterals. It's called the collateral word. Collateral means there is a communication between the artery and the veins, and these collaterals, they are very, very important for the life of a heart patient. More collaterals are there, chances of their survival even after the myocardial infarction increases. So people who have got the habit of walking daily in the morning, or a little bit exertion, this is exertion a little bit, so jogging and the morning walk is a accustomed exercise. It comes under the accustomed exercise, that where you got up in a fixed time of the day and your body is subjected to a little bit of the exercise. Then these collaterals develop in those people in 24 hours. And because of these collaterals, so whenever there is any block of any artery nearby to these veins, so now no blood is going into the vein. But because of the communication of the blood vessels, arterial vessels with the veins, the perfusion of blood is there. So because of the collateral formations, the circulation of the blood is still present, because now no blood is coming from this point. But the artery which was proximal to the obstruction of the coronary artery is communicating with this. Now blood can go from here, and from here it can go up to here, or it may go along with the communication. So blood to the distal vessel of the coronary vessels can be collaterally supplied by these collaterals. These collaterals, they develop in these people who undergo the light type of the exercise, and these people survive even after the first, second or third myocardial infarction. So these are about the applied anatomy related to the coronary sinus. Another is for the cardiac surgeon, the coronary sinus is a very important site for many maneuvers or many cardiac catheterization or any interventional treatment or the maneuver has to be done to the heart. Because this coronary sinus can be easily found. It is thin walled and it is irregular in shape and having the larger caliber or the diameter than the coronary artery. So coronary arteries, they are thick in their walls. They are very thin. So through this, any stunt or any cardiac catheter can be introduced and then it can go into the right atrium and we can visualize the inside story of the tricuspid valve, or we can see the chordae tendineae, or we can see the papillary muscle status. Sometimes this interventional procedure has to be adopted by the cardiac surgeon, so coronary sinus is a very optimal site. Secondly, it is also used for the contrast media injection also. When the coronary artery, they are very dangerous to inject. So the radiopaque dyes can be easily and successfully injected through the coronary sinus. Because any spilling or the leakage of the dye may not be dangerous in the veins, but it is more dangerous in the artery. Because the artery there goes to the tissue. If the dye goes to the tissue, it may damage it. But veins, they are on the heart. So that's why we are using the coronary sinus in. Nowadays, it has been experimentally, we are doing that how we can push the stunt from the right atrium to the coronary sinus and then to the collaterals, and from the collaterals to the large branches of the right and the left coronary artery. So they call the retrograde stenting or retrograde perfusion. So research is still going on, and in some of the countries it is successful also in survival of the post-myocardial patients. That's all about the coronary sinus.